Well, good morning, magandang umaga, and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. Now, for those of you who watched the last episode, you know that we're in the process of doing a roofing awning type project on the back of the house and around the sunroom. Well, the project is not done yet, and we're going to talk about why it's not done yet when we go into today's episode. Things you need to be aware of when you're inside the Philippines, and maybe in other places around the world. Who knows? Let's go ahead and get today's episode started. Now, without further delay, let's get today's video underway. Right, here we are at the beginning of part 2, and I just want to talk a little bit about logistics, how logistics can kind of slow down your build if you don't have proper logistics in place. Now, all of this was done during our first episode of the build, which was our previous episode, part 1 I'm going to call it. And you could, from the last time to what you see now, there's really not that much of a change. Well, there's subtle changes, but you won't know until I tell you about it here in just a moment. And today is Saturday, and we started this, I believe it was last Tuesday. Well, the ironworks went up fairly quickly. But the next thing that had to be done after the ironworks was completed and everything was welded, and they did some grinding of all the welding so we don't have any corrosion later on. You don't want ungrinded welding connections, and the paint goes over the top of it because it can cause corrosion later on. So the next thing again was the painting. Well, I specified the color paint that I wanted, which is basically what you see kind of on both sides here. But I didn't specify the finish. Now, nowhere on the house, inside or outside, do we have anything glossy. And when you go to any of the big box stores or any of the hardware stores, most of the time what you're going to find is the paint that they mix up for you is going to be glossy. They are big fans of glossy paint here in the Philippines. Unfortunately for us, glossy is not an option because we did no glossy anywhere on the entire house. We either did something that is semi-gloss for the ability to clean easily, but also not have the big sheen, the shininess. So the first coat of paint that went on here was very glossy. I don't know if you can see from now, it's kind of hard to see, but this coat up here, and what you'll see on the side over here, you see it's shiny. Maybe you can see up there on the truss work how shiny it is. So I got with the contractor and I said, please, let's cover over the shiny gloss. Let's go ahead and get something in a satin or semi-gloss or a satin. And you wouldn't believe how difficult it was trying to get that paint. It was pretty difficult. It took several days for us to finally get, and it had to do because you give them a color at some of the paint shops, they mix it for you, you bring it back, and it's just not what you thought you bought inside the paint shop. Paint selection is you have to be very good with paint selection. Anyway, we finally got, and it's in a satin. But when it first came, let me show you. I'm going to show you the original. Now this was the original color that was painted right here. This is almost like light chocolate, and this is what I was asking for, was more of a dark, very dark chocolate, kind of a brown here. So that's what we have now, and this is satin. This is like a semi-gloss satin, and this was the original, and I don't even have any of what they painted the second time because we got rid of all of that, but you can see it on the roof work over there. So we're in painting today. Today's painting mode. They're going to complete the painting on here, and then tomorrow is actually supposed to be the roof installation, and we actually got all the tiles. The tiles came in. And you'll see, these are the tiles. This is Decra. This is Decra Milano, and the color of this is Rosso. This is exactly what we have on the roof of Villa Feiz. It's a very high quality roofing material, and it comes with many different type of layers that have to do with protection. You can't see it here because it's all covered up with the epoxy asphalt type of material that goes on the very top, but there's many layers of zinc and tin and all these kind of different things for integrity, for sound insulation and things like that. But this is it. This is the barrel. The barrel will go over the corner. It'll be like at a 45 degree with a 90 degree corner goes around the edge of the two different roofs meet each other in the corner. And then this is the roofing tile material, and there's supposed to be some flashing. I think they still have to pick up the flashing, but we have most of the materials for them to go ahead and get started. Now what you see here, this is PVC. This is what can be used for eaves up underneath the house. You really don't want this exposed to direct sunlight since it is PVC. It's not UPVC, and it will last a very, very long time as long as it's not exposed to direct sunlight with the UV rays hitting on it. What will end up happening if you have something like that condition, it will fade out the PVC just a bit, and actually make some of the coating a little bit brittle. So this is going to be what we're using, and it's the same style as what we have for our eaves for our roof. But this is just a little bit wider than what we have. I think we used 4-inch for our roofing, and I'm going to say this looks to be about like a 6-inch. I think it's about a 6-inch is for coverage here, but it'll be okay. Now there's one other change that I want to tell you about that we are going to do. This is sort of an upgrade. Remember, these were the lights that were removed. These were the sort of like lantern type lights that were on the outside. We had 2 of these that I removed during the construction of the steelworks, of the ironworks. I decided what would be nicer and cleaner. I'm not going to use these again. I'm going to keep these for another project, but what I'm going to do is we're going to use what they call, these are called pin lights here. They're LED and they're low voltage LED, and these are actually made by Philips. You can see the Philips name brand right there. So what we're going to do inside that PVC, that's the underliner up underneath the roofing material, we're going to put one of these under each one of the spans in between the trusses to give us illumination using these. And these are very easy to change out. They're just spring loaded on the back. The electrical wiring is already upstairs, so all we got to do is put some protective conduit that they have, the flexible orange conduit, run it from where it comes from the wall down to each one of these pin lights. It will involve doing a little bit of drilling in between some of the truss work so we can run the conduit through each one of the truss work and then connect each one of the lights. So that will be, I think it's going to be 6. I think we'll have 6. Now this is a 5.5. We might up it to a 7 watt light fixture, which I think is a little bit bigger. I think it will end up being about 4-point-something inches. But we'll see when we get to that point. Now, even though I've been slow with posting a video this week, doesn't mean I haven't been busy. I kind of want to show you, this is what I've been working on the last couple of days. And you remember these, you remember all of these acoustic wall tiles that we did for the upgrade of the soundstage here in the basement of Villa Feiz. Well, since that I received additional material, which is more of these tiles, and let me show you what I did over the last couple of days. If you look, we now have some acoustic sound tiles on the ceiling to prevent any of the bouncing of the audio back and forth, causing some of the feedback and some of the noise that we get here. And I also installed this over here on this wall. So this whole room is getting a little bit better acoustic sounding, and you're probably wondering why I haven't done that. For those of you who watched the earlier video on the install of the acoustic tile, you know that's our projection wall for our movies. This is what we watch movie theater night. We watch against that wall right there. So I'm kind of happy. It's kind of an odd design that I have up here, but it works. Now let me show you from this side, and I'll show you from the drummer's standpoint back here. We look back in this direction. So you can see, so things are starting to come along for our soundstage here. Now before we leave the basement area, there's one thing I just want to talk about, why we're doing all these acoustic sound tiles. And it has to do mainly for feedback. All the noise that you get where things bounce off a wall, say you're singing through a speaker, it bounces off of a concrete wall, which is very reflective. It goes back on a concrete wall behind you, it goes back in your microphone, and that loop causes that nasty squealing feedback that you get that you normally have a sound man to be able to work with that to try to avoid that. Well, we don't have a sound man, so we have to do our best with making the room as acoustically compliant to good sound as possible. I'm going to show you something, and I think you'll understand. And you hear just a little bit of an echo here because I'm in an area that doesn't have any of the acoustic tiles. But I'm going to walk through the basement and I'm going to talk, and I want you to hear the echo and see what it sounds like when we get into the soundstage area. See if the microphone on the camera will pick up what I'm talking about, and you'll see why it's so important to isolate your soundstage area from any type of echoes. Okay, I'm in a part of the basement right here that has no isolation, no insulation from the sound. So you can hear it's kind of booming. I hope you can hear it, and it's just not really good audio. Now I'm going to walk and I'm going to do a test from this echoey area here and walk into the soundstage area. And so tell me if you can hear the distance between right here and right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I'm going to do it the opposite way. Where I am going to stand inside here and you'll hear it from my side, because maybe you're hearing what I'm hearing from my side. So we're in the soundstage area and it's really not bad in here. It's actually a very comfortable talking and listening, and if we had live music going, it's not bad. So inside here, you see, not that big of a problem without any echo. It's pretty nice and quiet. But I'm going to walk out into the open area, and you'll hear as I'm walking into the open area out here, the sound, the echo is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Really bad. So I think we also need to add some of these sound dampening tiles in different parts of this part of the basement. Well, I really like that color. It's coming out real nice, and I like the matte finish. We're going to close here at this portion today. Again, I didn't think that we were going to do more than one episode on this, but it looks like it's going to end up being about 3 or 4 to catch up on each one of the steps as we progress through. And I think that's important, especially since we're going to be doing vinyl PVC. We are going to be doing electrical work, and we're going to do the roofing tiles. And I think you want to join me while they're doing each one of those steps so you can kind of see what goes on if you do a modification like this to your house. And before I close today's episode, I have a couple of shout outs. Please stick around for those. It's now time for that special segment of our channel where we do birthday shout outs, anniversary shout outs, OFW shout outs, and today we actually have a special shout out. It's a little bit different from some of the other shout outs that we normally do, but we will talk about that in just a moment. Our first one is a birthday shout out for a repeat birthday shout out that we did 3 years ago for a young lady whose grandparents think so much of her that they want to make sure we don't miss it again this time. They got a hold of us when she was 4 years old, and they even sent us a real neat video that we're going to share with you, because when she was 4, at 4 years old, she even loved watching My PI Dream. Well, anyway, this is from Ralph and Marcia, who are the grandparents of Scarlett Dabu, who's turning 7 today. So we want to wish Scarlett a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Scarlett.
Now, last but not least, we are doing something that's a little bit unique, even for our channel here. We are going to do a shout out for a celebration of life. We were notified today one of our longtime subscribers has left us and gone on to the next chapter in his life. And we want to recognize him because he did so much for our channel and for some of our other friends that have other channels as well. He's a very kind person. And his name is Rick Halber. If you look at the comment section on our channel, you see he has wonderful, very nice comments. And if you look and wonder where that big yellow duck that's sitting inside, punk duck in our swimming pool, where that came from, well, that was a gift from Rick, who wanted to show his appreciation for all the videos and for the pool build videos that we did, because he enjoyed that so much. Again, we were notified today that Rick has moved on to a better place. So we want to thank Rick for everything that he has done here on our channel, and we want to just do something that we call the celebration of life.
Thank you, Rick.
Now those peppers you see there, those were a gift from our contractor, Edwin Reyes. He's the one who's the contractor for the roofing project here. And he had those in the back of his truck one day, and he just said, I was looking at him and I'm like, oh, are those peppers? And he's like, yeah, these are peppers. Do you want some? I said, oh, what kind are they? And he said, they're the kind that they use in synagogue. And I'm like, oh, just give me a couple. He said, oh, you can have the whole batch. And and that sort of kind of describes the way things are in the Philippines. There's so many kind people inside. If they have something you say, oh, I like that, they kind of feel obligated to give it to you. And I'm like, I don't want all of your peppers. And he's like, no, you take those. I can get more. And we love synagogue around here. So that is part of what's so great about being in the Philippines. Very kind, very sharing people. The project here, the next step is that there are 3 things that have to be done. Electrical, PVC vinyl for the underlay, and the roofing material on the top itself. I will cover each one of those as they happen. We kind of play things by ear around here. You got to kind of get used to that in the Philippines also. Sometimes when you think you have a schedule, you don't really have a schedule. But that's okay. It'll get done when it gets done. So that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please share. And if you have not subscribed, just click on that little MPID dream in the bottom right hand side of your screen. You'll be subscribed and notified the next time I upload a new video. So until such time, from right here in the Philippines, you have a wonderful and blessed day. If you enjoyed today's episode and you would like to see more just like these, just click on one of the helpful links over to your right and you might be able to pick up on some good information on DIY projects, how to, or if you are interested in moving to the Philippines and building, you'll find answers there as well.